Hey guys, and welcome back. So today we're going to talk about how you can monitor your Windows machines within Zabbix monitoring software. And we're not talking only about like Windows servers, but also about a Windows simple desktop machines, maybe your home computer or whatever else. And basically what we'll be covering today is how you can install the Zabbix agent on your Windows machines, then about a native agent check, so what data you can collect out of the box, service discovery, log monitoring, event log monitoring, Wmi monitoring in a Zabbix, and also the performance counters. And to achieve all of this, first of all, you need a Zabbix server. And in my case, I have the Zabbix 6.0, the latest LTS release. If you don't have your Zabbix yet, I will put the link somewhere above how to install the Zabbix 6.0. It's also pretty easy. And yeah, so we also have a CLI where we have this Zabbix server installed. Zabbix server minus capital V, so this is 6.0 version. Maybe we'll need a little bit of it, maybe not. And the first thing that we actually have to do is install a Zabbix agent on a Windows machine. So as you noticed already, I myself have a Windows machine up in front. And to install the agent, we will use official MSI packages. So first of all, go to zabbix.com, click on the green download button, then Zabbix agents, and Windows, operating system version any, AMD 64, 6.0 LTS with encryption or without, that's up to you, and MSI package. So just click download. There we go. And then basically this is going to be the next, and we'll have to fill in a couple of parameters. So end user license agreement, click next. Host name, this is the host name which will appear in the configuration hosts if you will be using Active Agent registration. We won't be doing that, so actually for us the host name is pretty optional, but I will specify it like YouTube video. Zabbix server IP or DNS. This parameter is important for our agent to know from which IP address he should accept the connections, because of course we don't want everybody in our network to be able to connect to our Zabbix agent and do the monitoring. So we need to specify which IP address will be connecting. And as you see, my virtual machine is 192.168.56.101. So this is what I will specify here. 168.56.101. I think it's correct. Yep. And agent listen port 10050. This is a default one and there's no need to change it. Server or proxy for active checks. So basically this one is from which IP Zabbix agent will accept connection, and this one is for the active checks when agent is connecting to the Zabbix server, so to what IP the agent actually have to connect. And PS key and add agent location to the path, not required in this case. PS key is for encrypted connection. We will not use it in our daemon installation. So click next. This is what is going to be installed. Zabbix agent daemon, sender it get, and those are just the utilities, which again we will be not using in this case, but let's just click next and install. So this will take probably less than a minute, a couple of seconds. I will pause here and we'll continue when it's done. Okay, so this probably will be done right now. Yeah, so there we go. Completed. The Zabbix agent 64-bit setup wizard installed. Finished. And now we can open services. MSC, I think it was like this. Yep, there we go. And we should have a Zabbix agent running already. So we have a Zabbix agent running. And we can actually use our CLI with the Zabbix server. So this is the actual Zabbix server IP address, and we can use the Zabbix get utility to actually test the connection. And for that, we need to type Zabbix underscore get -s for IP address where our Zabbix agent is located, 6556.1, and minus key. So what value do we want to actually check? Let's say system hostname. There we go. And this means that our Zabbix server is actually able to communicate with this Windows host. So agent is installed and we verify the connection actually works. Then how can we actually start the monitoring? For that, we need to open the front end. which again is, you can see the IP address of my virtual machine. Go to the configuration.hosts, and we need to create a new host for our Windows machine. Let's call it Windows YouTube. I will not apply any templates for now, or actually let's do that. I will apply the template operating system Windows by the Zabbix agent. So you see there are already built-in templates within the Zabbix. You don't have to do the magic and like create some custom items or stuff like that. The group is mandatory, and I don't know if we have them, so I will create Windows servers. There we go. And interfaces. This is the interface to which our Zabbix server will actually try to connect. And we want to use the Zabbix agent. Remember, the IP address is 168.56.1 IP. And the port, remember, we also didn't change it when we installed the Zabbix agent. So it's 10050. And that's it. The host is not monitored by the proxy. It is direct connection from our server. No description. Host is enabled. So click Add, and we see the Windows YouTube is added. We have 32 items out of the box with the templates. Some of them are using just regular Zabbix agent checks. Some are using the performance counters on Windows. We'll talk about them also later. We have a couple of the triggers that will inform us when, let's say, the CPU interrupt time is too high, or the system time is out of sync with difference with the Zabbix server. And basically right now we can go back to the all hosts, and we see the availability is already green, which means that the Zabbix server is started to collect all the data from this host. And you can go to the monitoring latest data, click just filter by host our Windows YouTube server, apply, and there we go. We start to receive the data. Right, so we have the Zabbix agent availability, agent ping, total swap space, number of threads, CPU stuff, free swap space, and all of that stuff. Also important that all of these items are basically built-in static in the template, but on our host from our default template, we also have a low-level discovery rules. So these LLD rules will discover all the mounted file systems on this Windows machine, all the network interfaces, all the physical disks, and all the Windows services for the discovery. So we can actually I'm not sure if there are, yeah, there we go. So network interface is already discovered. Yeah, Intel gigabit interface. Also, we don't have yet information about the disks. So that will happen after. Let's try to execute it now just to save us some time. Go back to the Windows host. And still only network. So this will take a little bit of the time for the server to actually poll those items for the first time. So for now, let's continue with the next stuff. While we started with the next stuff, we see that we also discovered the physical disks and all the information about them, like the average disk read queue, disk write queue, disk read rate, and all other stuff. And the other stuff that I wanted to talk about is that with the Zabbix agent, with the help of the Zabbix agent monitoring, we can collect not only this data, but also do the service discovery. So basically, it is possible to discover all of these services in the Zabbix automatically. You don't have to manually create these items. So it will discover all of them, and you're monitoring whether the service is up or down, and accordingly, you can also set up the triggers, which will inform you when, let's say, the web client service is not running, but the startup type is automatic. So you can be informed about that. Also, event log monitoring, that is also a thing. So event viewer, you can monitor all of these, let's say for the Windows logs and let's say for the security, monitor all this information. And let's say be informed when somebody's trying to log into the computer and they have like multiple attempts with the wrong password or stuff like that. How to use this? Basically, you have to go to the documentation and you will find items, item types, Zabbix agent, and there's the page for the Windows specific item keys. And here you will find the event log monitoring. So this is the item key. And there are a couple of parameters that you actually have to fill in. They're fully explained here. So the name of event log, regular expression for what you actually want to match, severity, if you want to use the filtering source, event ID, maybe you're interested only in some specific event ID. And then there's basically just a couple of examples. If, let's say, in security, the failure audit, which is event ID 529 and 680, then this item will receive the data, and you can also create problem triggers and report about it to your administrators. And another interesting thing is the log monitoring, which is not a Windows specific. So this is available also in Linux monitoring with the agent. So this basically allows you to monitor any log file, text file on your Windows machine based on the regular expression and capture some lines from the log that are actually matching your regular expression. So let's say there could be some service status or how operational it is or it's not. And when the line appears that the service has stopped or crashed, whatever, you can pull this line inside the Zabbix and again process it with the triggers and notify your admins about the problems. Again, a couple of parameters: regular expression, encoding, max lines, mode, output, max delays. Everything is fully explained here in the documentation. And again, a couple of examples. So these are for the Windows, but for the Linux, but you should understand the idea. So the log, and we're monitoring, let's take this one, var log syslog. This is the location of our log file, and we're searching for the strings that have a word error. And if there will be such strings, then they will be pulled inside a Zabbix and processed with the triggers. If not, then they will be simply ignored. So if you want to use these like event log monitoring, Windows service monitoring, some just regular log monitoring files, you can just extend your templates. Let's say template Windows generic by the Zabbix agent, and add your new items. Just select that it's going to be the Zabbix agent. The key will be this log and location of the error.log, and I want to search for the string crash, and there we go. So whenever there will appear the word crash in this log file, it will pull in whole line containing this word inside a Zabbix, and then you can create triggers to do that. If items, triggers is something like completely strange for you, unknown, then just search in my channel. I have a lot of videos explaining how you can use the templates, how you can use the items, and how you can use the triggers. Two last things that we have left are WMI and the performance counters. So what is actually WMI in the Windows? And this is a fully Windows term. It is a Windows management instrumentation, and you can find a lot of information and documentation about it in Windows related documentation stuff, but basically what you need to know about is that you can get a lot more information from your Windows desktop or the server than you can with just regular items or some log file monitoring or event log monitoring. As example, I have here one namespace, which is an MSFT MP computer status class, which basically helps us to get information about a Windows Defender. And there you can see like what are potential data that we can collect, like the AM service version, which is the service version, antivirus signature age, antivirus enabled or it is disabled, also the signature versions, date time, which let's say in this case can allow us to monitor the Windows Defender and be notified if, let's say, the computer was not scanned for multiple months, or maybe the database version of the antivirus also has not been updated for some time. And how we can collect this data inside the Zabbix with the WMI items, which are also the Zabbix agent items. So again, in the documentation, Windows specific item keys, search for WMI. And you can see, so there is wmi.get, which just gets one query from one namespace, where you can run the wmi get all, which works as a low-level discovery. So basically just return the whole response from the namespace. And yeah, we can just grab an example. So you can test these from your command line on your Zabbix server. let's say we can open it here. So remember, we already tried a Zabbix get, and since this is also working on the Zabbix agent, so it is a Zabbix, it will work with a Zabbix get. And we can just copy paste the example from documentation of the Zabbix. The only thing, if we'll execute this, it's not going to work because the example is written for the Zabbix, but here in the Linux we actually have to escape some of the things. So basically in this case we only need to put all the key in the double quotes, so like this, and there we go, we get the results. It's not formatted, so it will be hard to understand, like the system name, config manager error code, one of my disks, the Samsung SSD 860 AVO 500 gigs and stuff like that. So basically what this returns is status information of all the physical disks. And when you found this information that you actually want to collect in a Zabbix, the only thing that you have to do is create your regular items. So again, create new template or just edit your existing template, create sorry, not the trigger, but a new item, again a Zabbix get, and the item key will be Wmi, where it is, .get, so this one, and in the parameters specify as it is in the example, so the namespaces, and after the comma the actual query which we want to pull in. And there are also like the Windows installable explorers of Wmi, so you can go through all available namespaces and metrics on your Windows box, which will allow you to more easily create these items and figure out what should be the namespace and what should be the query to run it. So the last one that I want to talk about is the performance counter in the Windows monitoring. So what is Windows performance counter? Let's just search Windows performance counters. Again, this is let's say the resource in the Windows which has a lot more of information and data sets about your Windows server or just a desktop. Then we can pull in with just a built-in Zabbix agent keys like the disk space monitoring, the CPU or memory or stuff like that. And they are also monitored with item keys, and we can find them here. The performance counter also works through the Zabbix agent, which we already have installed, and the only thing that you need to specify here is a counter. So which one do you actually want to monitor? How do I know what sort of counters do I have on my machine? You can check it, and for that you need to open the CMD. Probably should run it as administrator just to be sure. And what you need to type here is type perf .executable and -q. So what this will do, it will actually print all of the performance counters that are available on my machine. And as you can see, there's quite a big list. And you will find information about all the networking, the caches, browsers. There will be also some information about a Skype, the search gather. So everything that we have on our computer which can respond with some sort of the data can be monitored within a Zabbix. So what we need to do is basically just copy paste one of these lines that we actually need to monitor and use an item performance underscore counter, and instead of counter, copy paste line from here. And if you can see, there's like performance counter and performance counter English. I would probably recommend to use this, because otherwise if we use this key and see like right here we have hypervisor, root, virtual processor and stuff like that, the total core runtime, because I have a Windows language on my Windows. And if we would create this template with these counters and apply it to, let's say, I don't know, like Russian or Spanish or whatever Windows machine, these items would be not supported, simply because the counters would be written on their own language, and yeah, it would not work. However, if we're using the performance counter underscore English item, it will always search for the English language name of the counter, so it's always going to work. That's about it. That's how you can monitor everything outside of your Windows machines. So desktop servers, doesn't matter. You can monitor Active Directory, Microsoft SQL databases, memory disks, network traffic, caches, all of that stuff. With a Zabbix, pretty easily, like already a lot of items can be collected out of the box by just like linking already existing template from the Zabbix. But if you want to extend this monitoring and create some sort of the custom stuff, you can always use one of these monitoring types. So thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe, of course, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.